File item members, moving briefly back to guest introductions. On behalf of Assemblymember Levine, members will continue with guest introductions later in the session. Back on the file. Moving to file item 62. That's AB 443. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 443 by Assemblymember Alejo and Act relating to forfeiture.
Mr. Alejo, you may open.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and members. Today I'm here to present AB 443, bill sponsored by Attorney General Kamala Harris that focuses on seizing the assets of transnational criminal organizations. AB 443 will allow a prosecuting agency to file a petition of forfeiture for good cause prior to the commencement of criminal proceedings in cases regarding criminal profiteering. Gang violence and crime continue to be serious problems across the state. We must take steps to diminish the grip that they have on many of the most disadvantaged communities. Communities have been destroyed because of these gangs, and it is time that we put that to an end. By freezing their assets, these criminal organizations, we hit them where it hurts the most, and we can put a halt to their operations. This bill is a step in the right direction to prevent this money shuffling and thwarting organized crime in California. The bill has received bipartisan support in both the Assembly Public Safety and Appropriations Committee. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Mr. Lowe, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Members, I rise in support of this bill. This bill tailors to the criminal activity, and I commend the author for working with the committee chair and the committee consultants, and I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
With that, Mr. Alejo, you may close. I'm sorry, Mr. Santiago, you are recognized.
Sure. Mr. Speaker, I also rise in support of this bill. This is a bill that I personally witnessed in public safety, personally witnessed the author work towards a compromise. Unfortunately, there was a clerical error that had me noted as not voting, but nonetheless very supportive of this bill and wanted to clarify that. It is a good bill, and I ask you for your aye vote.
Mr. Rowland, you are recognized.
Question the author.
Without objection.
I look at this bill, and I do understand the intent of the bill. And I may actually be in support of the bill, but I'm curious about this, and I would really appreciate a substantial response. The state should have no legitimate interest in the seizure of property of others until such time as there is a nexus and sufficient evidence to support the filing of a criminal charge against the owner that will then allow the accused person to litigate the matter in a single action. As I understand it, this is our right of due process, or a similar right as many of the attorneys in the room can attest to. Can you please illuminate this for us?
As long as it's not a roasting, because I've done billion bills before. And anyways, well, if you're concerned about the due process, and you would be raising due process concerns for criminal organizations, cartels, the people who are hurting our communities the most, who are carrying out orders. And when you talk about gang crime in our neighborhoods, if you truly want to address that, this bill is one that you should be voting for. It's no different than when law enforcement have to go and obtain a search warrant. They have to go before a judge, a neutral party, to make sure there's a substantial probable cause. And then law enforcement is able then to go see that evidence or enter into a home before the evidence is gone. That is the same here. This is already a tool for federal law enforcement. It's been used for years. All we're trying to do now is allow our state and local law enforcement utilize the same tool that is currently used by federal law enforcement. You have to go to court to a judge. You have to show that you have a substantial probability that you're going to file criminal charges in a short amount of time, substantial probability that you will prevail on the issue of forfeiture when you go to court. And so we're following those same due process standards, and I would respect to ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Alejo. We closed on this item. Mr. Quirk, would you like to add something?
Yes. So as Chair of Public Safety, we were very careful going through this bill. It's defined in a very narrow way. The only people who can really be affected by this are people that we can show are multinational criminal conspiracies. There is a substantial concern about losing those assets. And as the author said, there is due process. So I would urge everyone to support this bill.
Thank you, Mr. Quirk. Mr. Alejo, if you'd like to. Mr. Alejo is already closed. The clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 66, noes 4. Measure passes. Moving to file item 63. That's AB 964 for the purpose of amendment. Clerk will read with amendments.
Assembly Bill 964 with amendments by Assemblymember Chow.
Mr. Chow, you may open on the amendments.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Members, today I'm presenting amendments to AB 964. The amendments remove the requirement that the date of discovery of the breach be provided to the Attorney General and also make a technical change. With these amendments, all of the concerns raised by the opposition are addressed. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Ms. Waldron.
We support the amendments.
Thank you, Ms. Waldron. Without objection, we may take a voice vote on the amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bill is out to print and back on file. Moving briefly back to guest introductions. On behalf of Assemblymember Mark Levine, I would like to welcome guests from West Marin Elementary School with us in the gallery. West Marin Elementary School. Members back on the file. File item 64, that's AB 1075. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 1075 by Assemblymember Alejo, an act relating to hazardous waste.
Mr. Alejo, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. Once again, I'm pleased to present a different bill, AB 1075, which is part of my overall efforts to reform the state's hazardous waste programs at the Department of Toxic Substance Control. This bill will address the problems of hazardous waste facility permitting and enforcement, where current law fails to clearly define when a facility should be closed for repeat and serious violations of their hazardous waste permit. This bill provides that 3 or more serious violations, such as fires or explosions, during a 5-year period results in a clear obligation on DTSC to revoke a permit. The bill increases the monetary penalties of facility operators from $5,000 to $25,000 per day for repeat and serious violations. I've taken amendments on the bill to alleviate concerns that minor and technical violations may trigger a permit denial unnecessarily. This bill will result in more certain regulatory process for communities that are living nearby a hazardous waste facility. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Mr. Gallagher, you are recognized.
Mr. Speaker, members, I must rise in opposition to this bill. We looked at this bill in environmental safety and toxics, and it's very much encouraged that the author work with opponents on some of the issues with regard to the 3-strike system. And still, even though amendments were taken, this bill still provides for very minor violations to count as a strike. And when this happens, if a business has 3 strikes, then Department of Toxics and Substances Control has very little discretion to deny, suspend, or revoke a permit. And that's because, under this bill, those violations are considered compelling cause to deny, suspend, or revoke. Compelling cause is a very high standard, and the bill provides that the department may only disregard that directive in extraordinary circumstances. This bill still needs a lot of work. This is going to have, I understand the motivation behind it, but this could cause some severe problems for businesses in our state where they're going to have this, some pretty high penalties for what could be very minor paperwork violations at their facilities over the course of 5 years. So I encourage you to oppose this bill. Thank you.
Mr. Alejo, you may close.
Yeah, just to close, this is not for paperwork violations. This was language we had worked on even with our people who had concerns about the bill, and this is serious violations such as fires or explosions. That's not paperwork explosions. These are serious incidents that put nearby neighborhoods at risk. And this is also a bill that was recommended through an audit we did on DTSC by our state auditor did several recommendations. We followed through to make sure we can have a more effective agency and have more effective tools to take care and safeguard our communities. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
With that, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will, all members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 42, noes 26. Measure passes. File item 65, AB 1397, for the purpose of amendment. Clerk will read with amendments.
Assembly Bill 1397 with amendments by Assemblymember Ting.
Mr. Ting, you may open on the amendments.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Just bringing AB 1397 forward for amendments. The amendments clarify conflicts of interest law regarding to community college accreditation. I respectfully ask for your aye vote and ask that the bill go out to print and back on file. Thank you.
Ms. Waldron.
We support the amendments.
Thank you, Ms. Waldron. Without objection, we're going to take a voice vote on the amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. Bills out to print, back on file. File item 66. That's AB 475. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 475 by Assemblymember Bigelow and others, an act relating to tribal gaming, declaring the urgency thereof to take effect immediately.
Mr. Bigelow, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's my privilege today to represent and present AB 475. AB 475 ratifies the gaming compact negotiated between the state of California and the Jackson Rancheria Band of Miwok Indians, a tribe I'm honored to represent. When ratified by the legislature and approved by the Department of Interior, the compact will replace the 1999 Tribal State Gaming Compact currently in effect. With any compact, it is always critical and important to have local support, and to this compact, it just has that. Amador County, the City of Jackson, and Amador County Sheriff Martin Ryan have all publicly shared their support for this compact. The tribe maintains a tremendous working relationship with the community and the surrounding local governments, and with the provisions of this compact will allow that to continue for years to come. Further, this compact has support from other tribal governments across the state. There is no opposition to this bill, and I respectfully urge an aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Bigelow. Mr. Cooley, you are recognized.
Colleagues, I rise in support of this measure. The Jackson Rancheria in Amador County, long established part of that community life. They are. I'm familiar with Amador County. It's just up the hill from my own assembly district. I've spent a lot of time up there with my family. They are a welcome and highly regarded part of the community. This will support a wide array of jobs in the county. It'll support projects that improve quality of life for the entire Amador County community. Very important bill, very important bill for my colleague to wend its way through the process. Please to support it today. Great bill.
Mr. Linder, you are recognized from your desk.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. It is my pleasure as Vice Chair of the GO Committee to support AB 475 and extend California's gaming compact with the Jackson Rancheria Band of Miwok Indians. When we heard AB 475 presented in GO Committee, it was obvious that this compact has broad support throughout its local community. This compact will take proactive steps of assuring that there will be mitigation by the tribe of off-reservation impacts of gaming activities and provide a framework for the sharing of its revenue with Amador County to provide for local infrastructure improvements. All the while, the tribe will be authorized for up to 1,800 slot machines and will remain in effect for 20 years. All parties have worked in good faith to get to this point, crafting a compact that is a positive step forward for the local region, for the state, and for the tribe. I strongly urge an aye vote.
Ms. Garcia, you are recognized.
Mr. Speaker and members, I rise in support of AB 475, the ratification of the Jackson Rancheria Band of Miwok Indians Tribal Compact. Under the new compact, Jackson Rancheria will raise its payments to the Revenue Sharing Trust Fund from $1.2 million annually to a minimum of $5 million, allowing them to assist non-gaming tribes from across the state. Further, the tribe has voluntarily entered into an enforceable bilateral agreement with Unite Here that will protect workers' basic labor rights. This compact will provide certainty for the tribe for many years to come. I respectfully ask for an aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Garcia. Mr. Lowe, you are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker and members. I also rise in support of Assembly Bill 475 because this provides an excellent framework and echoing the comments about local Californian communities and the tribes. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Mr. Gray. Mr. Gray, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, I rise in support of AB 475. On May 6th, the Assembly GO Committee conducted a thorough informational hearing on the contents of the Tribal State Compact between the State of California and the Jackson Rancheria Band of Miwok Indians. This is done primarily due to the fact that compacts cannot be amended by the legislature, as the legislature is only authorized to approve or reject a bill which would ratify a compact. I believe that this compact will further enhance the tribe's economic development and self-sufficiency while protecting the interest of the state of California and its residents, and I would respectfully encourage your aye vote.
Thank you, Mr. Gray. All debate having ceased, Mr. Bigelow, you may close on the item.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I just want to say I'm humbled, and I want to thank each of the members who have spoken in favor of this to have a broad bipartisan support, and I'm also humbled to say that it's not easy bringing these compacts forward, and to get this done in this manner, I am so thankful. So encourage an aye vote.
With that, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 68, no 0 on the urgency. Ayes 68, no 0 on the bill. Measure passes. Moving to file item 67, that's ACR 23 for the purpose of amendment. Clerk will read with amendments.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 23 with amendments by Assemblymember Salas.
Mr. Salas, you may open on the amendment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. ACR 23 is up for amendments. The amendments are technical and clarifying in nature. With that, I respectfully request that they go out to print and back on file.
Without objection, we may take a voice vote on the amendments. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The amendments are adopted. The resolution is out to print and back on file. File item 68, that's AB 571. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 571 by Assemblymember Brown, an act relating to taxation.
Ms. Brown, you may open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker and members. AB 571 will align the penalty forgiveness standards for property owners who fail to file the change of ownership forms. This clarification will ensure that there is a consistent standard across all jurisdictions and benefit taxpayers who qualify for penalty forgiveness. AB 571 passed the committee with bipartisan support, and I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Seeing no discussion or debate on this item, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 71, no 0. Measure passes. File item 69, pass and retain. File item 70, AB 914. Clerk will read.
Assembly Bill 914 by Assemblymember Brown and others, an act relating to transportation.
Ms. Brown, you may again open.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. AB 914 is a district bill. It has bipartisan support, and it would grant the San Bernardino Associated Governments, SANBAG, authority to implement an express lane program in the county on the I-10 and the I-15 corridors in the inland region of our state. The Inland Empire is the fastest growing region in Southern California, and San Bernardino in particular has grown to over 2 million people and is projected to reach 3.4 million by 2060. The express lanes are increasingly being studied by transportation agencies throughout the region. This model uses the value or congestion pricing to manage traffic demands in a corridor. I respectfully ask for your aye vote.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. Mr. Obernolte, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise in support of AB 914 as a co-author. Members, I represent the northern part of San Bernardino County, including a number of high desert communities for whom the 15 freeway is a vital economic link between those communities and the communities of Los Angeles. And members, I can tell you from personal experience that that route is badly in need of enhancement. I definitely urge and appreciate your aye vote.
Mr. Frazier, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Members, I rise in support of my colleague in San Bernardino. San Bernardino County is seeking authority to develop toll facilities to manage its very congested highways. We know that the locals have a better handle on these issues, and we should give them this opportunity. I've worked with the author to ensure the bill is consistent with my bill, AB 194, that would grant generic authority. Unfortunately, AB 194 won't be operational in time for San Bernardino, hence the desperate need for AB 914. I urge your aye vote.
Mr. Allen, you are recognized.
Thank you very much. I'd like to rise in strong support of this measure, and I say that twice because I hate traffic. I have to tell you that I've lived in Orange County now for over 20 years, and I get stuck on these freeways all the time, whether it's the 405, the 91, the 10, the 15, you name it. They all get terrible. The 5 freeway, the list goes on and on. Anytime we get a chance to add lanes to any of our roads in Southern California, in our dense urban areas, this is a wonderful thing for all of our Californians, not just the ones that live there and have to commute back and forth from work, but anybody traveling through. This should be one of the state's highest priorities, and I strongly urge support for this measure. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. All debate having ceased, Ms. Brown, you may close on the measure.
I thank my colleagues for their support, and I ask for your aye vote.
With that, the clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll. Tally the vote. Ayes 65, noes 6. Measure passes. File item 71, passed and retained. File item 72, that's ACR 59. Clerk will read.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 59 by Assemblymember Mainshine relative to Thrombosis Awareness Month.
Mr. Mainshine, you may open on the resolution.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Each year, hundreds of thousands of Americans are affected by deep vein thrombosis, a medical condition that occurs when a blood clot forms in a deep vein, usually in the lower leg or thigh. This affects an estimated 300 to 600,000 individuals in the United States each year. ACR 59 declares the month of October 2015 as Thrombosis Awareness Month in California. I ask that the first roll be open for co-authors and respectfully request your aye vote.
Mr. Welk, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have a question of the author.
Without objection.
I'm just wondering, to my friend from San Diego County, if the writer of that script was the same writer of the script at the roast of the other evening.
Mr. Mainshine, your option if you'd like to address that or not. Mr. Mainshine says he's good. Mr. Mainshine is asking the first roll be open for co-authors. The clerk will open the roll. Members, this is for co-authors on ACR 59. Co-authors, members, clerk will close the roll. There are 71 co-authors added on ACR 59. Without objection, we may take a voice vote on this item. All those in favor say aye. Aye opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. File item 73, pass and retain. File item 74, that's ACR 69. Clerk will read.
Assembly Concurrent Resolution 69 by Assemblymember Chavez relative to Healthcare District Month.
Mr. Chavez, you may open on the resolution.
Thank you. ACR 69 designates May 2015 as Healthcare District Month. There are 78 healthcare districts and 40 district hospitals in the state of California. Healthcare districts were originally founded at the end of World War II to provide healthcare services to veterans in rural areas. Today, districts make up 30 of the state's rural hospitals and over half the state's critical access hospitals. Additionally, community-based health districts are increasing the health of their communities through innovation solutions and models. Please join me in recognizing the vital role of these districts, and I ask for the first roll to be open for co-authors.
Thank you, Ms. Chavez. Mr. Chavez is asking that the first roll be open for co-authors. With that, the clerk will open the roll. Members, this is for co-authors on ACR 69. Co-authors on ACR 69, the clerk will close the roll. There are 72 co-authors added. Without objection, we may take a voice vote on the resolution. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. The ayes have it. The resolution is adopted. Now, on behalf of Assemblymember Chavez, I would like to welcome guests from the Association of California District Hospitals. That's the Association of California District Hospitals joining us in the gallery today. We welcome them. Moving to file item 75, that's AJR 14. The clerk will read.
Assembly Joint Resolution 14 by Assemblymember Kansan Chu and others relative to the Export-Import Bank of the United States.
Mr. Kansan Chu, you may open on the resolution.
Thank you. Good morning, speakers and members. I rise to present AJR 14, which will reauthorize the Export-Import Bank of the United States beyond June 30th, 2015. If Congress does not authorize an extension, American companies will be at a distinct disadvantage when attempting to sell their product overseas. This bank aids in the export of American goods and services and is vital to our state's economy competitiveness. The Export-Import Bank is the official export credit agency of the United States. Its support is often required to secure commercial financings for projects. It also assists companies to qualify to bid on overseas projects. It is for those reasons I ask for your aye vote, and I would like to open the first row for co-authoring.
Mr. Allen, you are recognized.
Thank you very much. I'd like to compliment the author for bringing this forward. I rise in full support, and I'd just like to share with the members a couple quick facts about the success of the EXIM Bank. The EXIM Bank has returned over $1 billion to the American taxpayers in profit from their successful loans. Now, I don't know about you all, but I think anytime the government can run a successful program, return $1 billion to us in profit, that's a darn good thing. I appreciate that. California businesses, of which there are more than 900, have been the top, over 900 of California businesses have been among the top beneficiaries of the bank's operations. So even though this is available to all U.S. companies, we have over 900 right here in California that have been prime beneficiaries. The bank also has a low default rate, which is currently under 2%. This is exactly the sort of program the government should be doing. This supports our international trade. I highly recommend that we all support this measure.
Thank you, Mr. Allen. Ms. Kim, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I, too, rise in strong support of this AJR 14 as a co-author of the bill. Thank you for supporting the bill, too. But in California, most recent statistics show that we have 1,100 companies in California that have benefited from this EXIM Bank. And I think it will be only fair to note that many of the businesses that are supported through this EXIM Bank include small businesses, minority-owned businesses, and it will only benefit by supporting this legislation to help increase our businesses as well. And members, I ask for your strong support on this. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Kim. All debate having ceased, Mr. Chu, you may close on the resolution.
Thank you very much. I just wanted to thank my colleagues from Huntington Beach and Fullerton for your support and co-authoring.
Thank you, Mr. Chu. Mr. Chu is asking that the first roll be open for co-authors on AJR 14. The clerk will open the roll. All members wishing to add as co-authors on AJR 14. All members vote or desire to vote. Clerk will close the roll. There are 56 co-authors added on AJR 14. Members, this requires a roll call vote. The clerk will open the roll. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. All members vote who desire to vote. The clerk will close the roll, tally the vote. Ayes 56, noes 1. Resolution is adopted.